Chances are, your Skyrim probably looks something like this. In the modern era of gaming, these graphics just won't do, so I'm going to show you how to make your game look like this. This video is going to be split into sections of different types of mods that change the game in separate ways. Also, the core mods of this list are based off Soft Gaming's list of 10 mods to overhaul Skyrim, so if you want a lighter version of my list, I'll link his video in the description. And if you want to play the game the exact way I play it, I've created an easy to install collection on Nexus Mods that's linked in the description. Just make sure you follow my instructions and it'll save you all the fuss of finding these mods manually. Anyway, let's get started with what mods I use. Textures and meshes. Skyrim's textures are quite outdated. Considering the game literally came out 13 years ago, it's kind of to be expected. The mods I'm using to counteract this and to bring the game up to today's standards are Skyland All-in-One, Skyland Bits and Bobs, and Static Mesh Improvement, or SMIM for short. These are in my opinion the best texture and mesh mods that keep to Skyrim's original art style. Skyland All-in-One gives a nice, high-definition look and feel to everything, and SMIM improves many of the models in the game which were originally 2D sprites like chains and ropes and makes them 3D tangible objects to improve little things. It is a must-have in any mod list. For landscapes and ground textures, I'm using Fantasia Landscapes. This works very well in conjunction with the other mods to improve the quality of all ground textures in a way that still suits the world of Skyrim. For weapons, armor, and clothing, I'm using Amidian-born Book of Silence, which completely overhauls the look of the base game weapons and armor, and Rustic Clothing to up the textures on all of the clothing items in the game. I'm also using Guard's Armor Replacer, which overhauls all of the guard armor across the map and gives them new weapons depending on what city they're in. Looks amazing and makes sense for the world of Skyrim. I highly recommend you pick this one up. But with all of these nice weapons, it doesn't make sense to use the vanilla animations. I've started using Comprehensive First-Person Animation Overhaul, or KFPOW for short. It simply changes all of the first-person animations to give the combat a bit more weight and style behind it. Very nice mod, I'll be using it from now on in all of my videos. For the nature side of things, I'm using Traverse the Ulvenwald for trees and Skoglendi for grass and foliage. These mods work really well together and completely reimagine the forests of Skyrim in a realistic and immersive way. Enhanced Blood Textures is also a must-have mod for any mod list that improves the game's graphics, as having a low texture blood on a high resolution ground just won't do. It simply makes all of the blood in Skyrim look leagues better. Whiterun Has Walls Redone is a small mod, but it has an immense effect on the look and feel of Whiterun, giving it realistic and proper walls around it compared to the vanilla run-down rock slabs. This one is optional, but in my opinion a very nice mod that improves the city without adding anything too crazy. Now of course we need to tackle the water. I personally use Simplicity of Sea, which is a water mod that is designed for use with an ENB, which I'll get to later. It is a fantastic looking mod and meshes with the rest of the mod list perfectly. And finally, what use are all of these mods if you can't see them from a distance? I'm using the Dindolod 3 beta to create LODs based off my mod list so the world comes together seamlessly as you explore it. Word of warning, do not run Dindolod until you have finished downloading all of your graphics mods, as it generates the LEDs based off what mods you have installed, so you might have some inconsistencies if you install more mods after running it. I have a good tutorial linked in the description if you're unsure how to use it. Now with all of the textures and models out of the way, we've made Skyrim look like this. But we are far from finished yet, as in my opinion the most important mods to improve Skyrim's graphics are what comes next: weather and lighting. Starting with the weather mod, I'm using Natural and Atmospheric Tamriel. By itself, it's a great mod that improves all of Skyrim's outdoor settings while staying true to the original art style. However, by itself, it's not too impressive. This is where we introduce the ENB of the same name, actually of the same mod page as well, Nat ENB. This is my favourite ENB at the moment. It simply looks stunning and almost single-handedly can bring anyone's Skyrim game to the modern era. Of course, to install this you'll need to download the ENB binaries from the official site and install them in your Skyrim folder before you attempt to download this. I'm also using EVLAS, or Enhanced Volumetric Lighting and Shadows, to make the lighting outside look a little nicer. This will probably affect your game more if you don't use an ENB, but I'm including it because it doesn't cost much performance and improves the lighting nonetheless. Now that we have the outside looking beautiful, let's bring our attention to the interiors. I'm using Skyrim is Luminous as my interior lighting mod, and using the Ominous setting to make indoors a little more dark and realistic in their lighting. It's not too dark, but makes using torches while exploring dungeons a little more tempting. With these lighting mods, we have transformed Skyrim into a stunning world that you can easily get lost in, but we aren't quite finished yet. Next, user interface and quality of life. What kind of mod list would this be if I didn't include Sky UI? This mod completely overhauls the inventory system in the game to make it much easier for PC users to navigate. Everything is sorted into tabs and lists and can be sorted by different values. You can search for things in the inventory and chests with your keyboard. It's a fantastic mod that you probably already have, but you need to grab it if you don't have it already. I've also started using Nordic UI, as I think it provides a really clean visual overhaul of the interface and HUD. You'll need the mod Sky HUD to make this work, but it's well worth the setup in my opinion. Up next is Immersive HUD. It binds your HUD's visibility to a hotkey of your choosing, makes getting screenshots a lot easier, and really improves the immersion of the game without limiting the practicality of having a HUD. Super useful mod, though this one is definitely optional. Make sure to get the patch for Nordic UI for it. I'm also using the Sovngarde font mod, which simply changes the font used in the majority of the game. I just think it looks nice and meshes well with Nordic UI. For a nice quality of life mod, I've included circlets or masks with all robes and hoods. This makes it so you can wear a circlet or mask with a hood/robe at the same time. I'm not sure why this wasn't in the game in the first place, but all it does is tweak some armor slot numbers. It works super well and just makes sense to have. Now that I've gone over all of the mods that make major changes to the game, I'll go through some small bug fixes and mods that didn't quite make it into other categories, even though I still use them and find them very useful. Of course, unofficial Skyrim patch. It's a must-have if you want your game to not act like a typical Bethesda title. It simply adds a ton of bug fixes to the game to make it behave as it should. Another mod that should go without saying is the Skyrim script extender. Just install it, every mod requires it. On the theme of bug fixes actually, I'll also include a couple of bug fixes for Sky UI, such as Difficulty Persistent Fix, which fixes that bug that I encountered in my previous video where the game wouldn't save my difficulty level properly. Flashing Save Games Fix, which fixes a bug that I haven't encountered yet but it's good to have, and Ghost Item Glitch Fix. These all simply iron out some bugs in Sky UI and makes your experience a little bit smoother. Now I have left out some of the mods for the sake of brevity, but all of these are just small mods that are requirements for the ones that I've already talked about. Please, for the love of God, install all of the requirements for each mod and read the mod pages on how to install them. But with all of that out of the way, that is how I made Skyrim next gen. If you want to try this out for yourself, I made the collection on Nexus, so click the link down below, click download, make sure you install Dindalod, ENB, and SKSE, and you can try it out for yourself. It's a great mod list, I think. This is a slightly different video to what I normally make, but you guys have been begging me in the comments for a mod list, so I thought I'd make a video on it. Huge thank you to all of my channel members for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and most importantly, have a wonderful day.